You're listening to WeDeepen Media.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Deepen with Christina. I'm your host, Christina Weber, founder of WeDeepen, WeDeepen.com, Feminine Weapon, and also a certified professional coach specializing in love and relationships. This podcast follows my entrepreneur journey as I aim to help build the human connection industry. Today, I have another solo podcast for you, always an edge that I get to right now in this moment as I lay in my bed on Sunday morning, share my innermost thoughts with you. There's a lot on my mind. Definitely, it's a lot has happened in the past week, the past months, the past years. Like, whoa. In this moment, you're catching me. I'm 41 years old. Like, this is like a little diary moment. And I recently spent 2 weeks in Puerto Rico. If you've been listening or a friend of mine, you know I am exploring a new love, romantic connection with this beautiful man. I'm so in love. And it definitely comes with challenge at times, for sure. I've gone through and been looking at like all of the stages of a relationship, you know, this honeymoon love-filled stage. And then you move into like, you know, the stage of just of seeing more. I think too is like a lot of us need time alone, or I need time alone. I'll speak for myself. And sometimes in new relationships, you're super excited to spend so much time together. And so him and I had traveled to Puerto Rico. We were there for 2 weeks, and towards the end of the trip, even sometimes in the beginning, like these little micro conflicts started to arise. And sometimes maybe we could even look at them as something else, like moments of thoughtful discourse. And also too, in a new relationship, one thing that I am sure that I really strongly believe in this idea of marriage, even though, you know, you have a population where 50-60% of marriages, quote unquote, fail. We call divorce failure. At this point in my life, when I do have a desire and a yearning to be committed, it's more that essence of like being committed to something in this lifetime that feels sacred and a union. So in these early steps of the relationship, there's moments of discernment. Like, is this person really right for me? Can I spend the rest of my life together with them? I'm not quite sure. And so all of that is showing up in moments. And also then I bring up the time for, you know, self, because, you know, him and I, we traveled, again, 2 weeks in Puerto Rico. We then flew to Maryland together, which is where my family is. And he met my family. And then the plan was that we would get my stuff in Maryland, and then we'd drive to Miami, and I would move there, and we would be together there in Miami. And for those that don't know, you know, I returned to Maryland, where I grew up, during COVID. I was living in New York City, had been there for 4 years. Prior to COVID happening, Deepen was building traction. We had lots of events, experiences. We'd raised a seed round of funding. We had an office and cross campus in Beverly Hills, a co-working space. It was actually formerly the death row office. I had a team of fluctuating between like 5 to 8 people. And January of 2020, you know, we'd grown the company up to 17,000 in revenue monthly. And February of 2020, there was 36 events that we promoted through the WeDeepen network. Also, I'm sitting here looking at, which is in my eyes views, this LA Times article that WeDeepen was featured in January 2020. It was the 7 ideas for sober fun. And it was the Dry January article in the LA Times. And we were in there 7 times, the experiences that we're representing. So it was an exciting time. And then when COVID happened, we were out of funding and the team shifted over and to go out and raise funding for an in-person event company during the beginning of COVID. Investors are looking at us and like, well, what are you going to do now? And I was like, I don't know. I'm not quite sure what is happening in the world, but I'm going to go find my grounding. So I returned to Maryland and I've been grounding with family since then. And also as feeling I'm feeling the exit out of COVID. I was in a place of wanting to return to Los Angeles. And that's when I met Javi. And so it just kind of changed everything. But yeah, so I've been exploring. We came back to Maryland and we were again supposed to drive to Miami, and we decided let's put a pin in this. And he flew back, and we have been now back in this long distance experience. But in this distance, it's just another form of loving each other. You know, Esther Perel, her first TED Talk, I think it's from 2013, is about the secret desires for how to keep relationships in the long term desirable. And 3 of the things that she mentions that I will forever remember is 1, you feel most attracted to your partner when there is some type of distance. You know, you don't want to be too close and you never want to be too far away. But those moments where you get to step away and come back and miss each other are just so important. Whether it's even that he's taking a man's trip, you're taking a girl's trip, you know, you're going, having separate adventures and then being able to come back into this place of union together. So 1, having the ability to miss each other. 2 is when you see your partner do something that you didn't know that they had the ability to do, like they surprise you. And that's like when you see your partner go on stage and they give a talk and you're like, whoa, or they complete a task, or maybe they get some type of promotion. It's growth. Essentially what it is, it's like when you see your partner grow, that what draws you to them. Of course, I imagine that if you're not doing your own growth, it's harder to witness your partner grow because there's a fear of like, oh, don't grow ahead of me. So it's really important when you are seeking growth to actually, if you read something or experience something that is changing you, definitely bring it to share it with your partner. And then 3rd is when you and your partner do something together that is like is feels like you accomplish something together. So you build a house, you design a house, you do a project, something that feels like a sense of togetherness and accomplishment as a union. So yeah, we're in this moment of distance, and I am going to be returning. I'm going to go to Miami in a couple weeks and be back together with him on the farm, Agri Farms or Agri Retreats on Instagram. You can go check it out. And I'm super excited because as I'm also in Maryland, I am writing our first contract to host a writing retreat at Agri. And I also have Indy Reishi, who's the host of Political Hope, is going to come down to Agri when I arrive too, and he's going to volunteer on the farm. So if anybody out there who's listening, if you ever wanted to live on a farm or learn farming, there is work trade opportunities available, and the space is also available if you have a retreat or festival, or you want to get away in nature and be in one of the container rooms, a glamping tent, just Airbnb it out. It can be a romantic getaway with your partner too. And there's a pony, 1,000 dragon fruit trees. So how lucky am I that I get to be in relationship not only with this beautiful man, but he comes with resources. It's funny to say, him and I were speaking the other day, and he's such a good cook. And I was making something, and he said, "Oh, you just miss me because I cook for you." I'm like, yes, it's not just because, but that is a part of it. And so when you are in relationship with somebody, a former beloved had said it to me before when I was like, well, if I didn't have WeDeepen, would you even be interested in me? And he just looked at me and he said, you are all that. You're everything. So it's okay. We are our own individual beings, and our extension our energetic, that is what pulls people to us. So yeah, lots of growth is happening. WeDeepen, being away, I lost my phone. I didn't have a phone for a week, and the universe is comical because I've always said that I would love to live without a phone for a year. And before I met Javi, I would joke that I needed a boyfriend. I needed a significant other, so that when I go for this year without a phone, that I have him that people can connect to me through. I'll have a landline. But when I'm out and maybe needed to Google something, then I at least has his phone. So literally the day before I lost my phone, while we were adventuring through Puerto Rico, he had given me his password to look something up. And I thought in my moment, I was like, wow, this is interesting. He's giving me his phone password. And then I lost my phone. So then I pretty much shared his phone for the next week. And what a fascinating experience for my brain, because I'm such a curious person. But I also think it's really important to respect someone's privacy, especially for me. I keep a journal. I've kept a journal since I was about 9 to 16. And I never want anybody to pick up and read my journal unless I give them permission to. So that's really important for me when that I have that respect for somebody else. Like, I'll never read someone else's text messages unless they show it to me. And I'm also super curious. There was even a relationship that I had years ago, my 20-something significant relationship. We were together for 5 years, and we were going through a rough patch. And his phone was laying there, and this is before the phones were locked. And I had slid it over, and I saw a message. I ended up sharing with him directly what I saw. Hey, this is just what happened. Please explain. And it just unfolded a lot of learnings within our relationship that was super significant. So there I was without a phone in Puerto Rico, needing to be fully present and almost detach from WeDeepen for a moment in time because I couldn't do it. And even having the computer, the Wi-Fi was so iffy, touchy, in and out. I am in school though, so I did do 30 hours of an immersive classroom experience on Zoom while away through IPAC. It's a coaching program that when you graduate from, it's a 9-month coaching program. When you graduate from it, you become certified, ICF certified as a professional coach. So I'm nearly through that program. I would recommend, if anyone's out there of thinking to up-level their own coaching skills to become certified as a coach, whether it's even because you want to be a coach as a profession, or you want to take that skill set to be able to build teams and organizations and have this certification to work inside of another company, I highly recommend IPAC, and I'm happy to speak with you further about that program. Speaking of coaching, 4 years ago, I was acting as a dating relationship coach for about 4 to 5 clients. I loved the experience. It was WeDeepen. I'd just gone through an accelerator program, so I was really in my startup phase, and Vice magazine had written something about my work the previous year, and around that time period, the article recirculated. And all of a sudden, just people started reaching out asking if I could help them. So I had a friend who was a coach, and she said, here's how you can do structure some coaching plans. And here's how you can work with them. So I took her advice, and I was doing that work, and I loved it. I got rave reviews. Some of my clients, they renewed. Anytime that I have the ability to just be with somebody and their own love life and their experience, and to share from my space of intuition, like giving them an intuitive reading based upon what I'm seeing energetically as they're speaking about their relationship. I guess there is a little psychicness running through me. However, in coaching, when I'm working with somebody, I'm giving them information, but it's only for them to use that information to reflect upon and to further deepen into their own inner knowing of what's best for them. Because how I decide and choose to live my life is going to be different from other people. So I'm mostly inspired to get inside of your own internal guidance system, and to be in a reflection of you to access that. So I have just recently put out an offering. You can do a one-on-one session with me if you're interested in, and the sessions are available at WeDeepen.com. You can go, you can hit on the private, and you can see it. And we'll do 60 to 90 minutes together. And I'll ask you a series of intuitive questions that come to me, and we'll get to see where you're at. And then at the end of that session, you're going to get a report. And when I say a report, you're going to get an email from me with a list of reference points and also suggested experiences that come through to share with you after having that experience. I just did my first session, and I loved it. I have 2 others booked. Literally, again, I just put this out there yesterday. So super stoked to be doing that work. If anyone knows anything about me, I love to talk about love. Speaking of love, this is exciting. The 8th Annual Biohacking Conference is coming up. Dave Asprey has been running this conference, again, 8th year. So for 8 years, Dave Asprey is one of the leaders in biohacking as a top-rated podcast. He used to be affiliated with Bulletproof Coffee. He's since launched Dangerous Coffee. Upgrade Labs. Upgrade Labs is like it's a space that you can go to that has all these like futuristic looking I got like equipment. It's like a gym for your mental, physical, soul, body. There's a studio in Santa Monica that I've been to, and there's also one in the bottom floor of the Beverly Hills Hilton in Los Angeles. And so the conference is coming up in September, and Dave had this idea to do a singles event for the conference. And his team remembered WeDeepen and me. And they called a few days. I had no clue that they were going to ask us to lead what I like to call a singles event. I mean, does anybody want to go to a singles event? Maybe no, not. I learned from all the years from 2014 to 2016, Sean, Derek, and I ran Underground Unattached, which we called a curated dating experience. And that's when I learned, like, nobody wants to go to a singles event. A curated dating experience. Now that sounds interesting. So they called, and we're going to be leading, Sean, Derek, tentatively, and I are going to be leading on the Friday night of the conference for up to 200 people in attendance, a dating experience. It's almost like an intricate version of speed dating. And wow, to get a bunch of doctors and biohackers and growth growth junkies into a room, I am stoked by that opportunity. You can go to WeDeepen.com. You can see the Biohacking Conference. You can register. You can use the promo code WeDeepen and get a little discount with it. And if you're currently single, what a fun place. I mean, who would you meet, especially if you're a person who growth comes first for you? Oh, so something else on my mind this week has been around the afterlife. I've been contemplating the afterlife. It was a tough week energetically for all of us. The tragedy that happened in Texas with 19 children passing and 2 teachers, and then the ripple effects of that, and just, for me, that Columbine, I was a senior in high school when Columbine happened, and I never got over it. I remember like 3 or 4 days later when everybody went back to school and nobody was talking about it anymore. And I just kept thinking in my head, like, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? And, this incident where I'm disturbed, saddened, and also fascinated by it, because here you had 40 plus cops, and I'm getting this from, I follow Sean King on Instagram, so I'm getting this from Sean King's page, but there was 40 police officers plus who had showed up, and they all froze. They didn't go inside, whether they didn't have the right equipment, whatever, but I think that just shows the contagiousness of fear when one person's afraid and the whole group gets afraid. And it's just, that's what I'm really interested to talk about, the psychology around what had them freeze. I'm not really interested in shaming or blaming. I really just want to drill down, to deepen into the root of all this, which to me is love. I would love to see that topic of conversation be more prominent, or just even maybe mentioned in the media. In my own dreams, love is taught in elementary schools and middle schools and high schools. It's included in our educational curriculum. Love, relationships, conflict resolution, how to be a good friend, giving, receiving, all of these topics, even sex. They're not teaching much of sex. My WeDeepen's previous interns had just graduated from high school, and I was asking them, like, what's sex like? No, not much, nothing. So this is, we need to dive into a need. I'm going to shift that word, because need, we don't need to do anything, but as we observe the experiences that are happening in the world, to me, it's a call. It's a scream for, hey guys, we need to come into love. And I did use that word need, because I guess I do feel it as it, and that depends on why you're here now, because of just witnessing these tragedies and over and over and over. And also, again, the psychology of the cops not going into there, it also makes me consider, is like, what are we living for? And what are you willing to die for? Are you willing to die for any particular person? And when will you be ready to die? There's a discovery, and I'm going to have a future podcast with one of my best friends, Sanyu Bigawa. She is, she's a full spectrum doula. She's a graduate of the Columbia University Narrative Medicine Master's Program. And so she works with doctors and health practitioners around preparing people for death and dying. And she herself has experienced so much death of loved ones around her. So because the only way that I can still be motivated in living life is when I really dive into the reflection and I put into belief this idea of reincarnation, that we are playing characters each lifetime. We're in a cosmic game. This is a cosmic play of life. So each lifetime we come back and we embody these characters, and we believe, because we know no different, that when we are to die, it's over. But it's not over. It's not. And that the thinking that it's over, maybe it's a theory, maybe what's tripping us up. So future episode, I will, because I'm reflecting a lot in my life around what it means to be alive. And I do believe that life and love are equal. The purpose, for me, the purpose of life is love, and love includes growth. And when I say growth, I am curious about this idea of moving towards oneness. Believe in the Big Bang or don't believe in the Big Bang, when all of the souls split up. So we could have the opportunity to find each other and serve each other and move through the darkness back into togetherness. I don't know, for me, it maybe call me a romantic, but I love to romanticize life. Yeah. So in future episodes, I'm going to be using these 3 questions, and I'll record an episode with me answering these questions. The questions are: what's your zone of genius? How's your love life? And why do you do what you do? Those are great questions also when you're out in the world, when you need to break the ice. That was actually one of my coaching sessions, was with a man who's seeking to be able to start conversations more easily out with others. I love working with people on that. I have a lot of ideas around breaking the ice. I'll give you one little tidbit right now before I end this show. If you think of the countdown method, when you see somebody and you want to have a conversation with them, in your head, go from 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then just begin talking. Could be a smile. It could be a hi. Just start. You don't have to know everything else of what the next question is. You don't have to even have expectations of how they will respond. Just do it for yourself. If you're interested in doing a session with me, you can go to WeDeepen.com, go to that privates. Also go check out the other podcasts that are on the network. There's a new show. We have an agreement out for a new show to join the network. If you're interested in launching a podcast yourself, I'd also be open to talking with you about how WeDeepen can support that. Also, check out the calendar. There's that Biohacking Conference that I mentioned, the 8th Annual Biohacking Conference in Beverly Hills. I will be there. It is September 15th through the 17th. It's happening on the same weekend as Bhakti Love Fest. That is the 15th through the 18th. I might try to jump over there on that Sunday, so I get to see some of you at Bhakti Love Fest as well. And Unleash is the following weekend. Unleash is one of my favorites. That's going to be in Austin, Texas this year. So I'm hoping to pop from Los Angeles to Austin, Texas, and then back to Miami. And then also WeDeepen, I am seeding a festival of our own that we'll be hosting in Miami soon as well. I know that I love speaking with you and sharing this podcast with you. And what really most excites me is being together with you in person. So go check out that calendar. Let's meet up. And also always feel free to send me a message. Enjoy your week. I love you all, and bye for now.